everybody, welcome to Emily Kate Made This. I am Emily Kate and I'm coming to you from Berlin in Germany. Welcome to my knitting slash sometimes sewing general crafty YouTube channel. Today we have two finished objects, one half finished object and I suppose another kind of half finished object. Kind of. So I have so much that I want to talk about today. I have no idea if I'm going to remember even half of it, but let's see. I hope so. Let me put this down. I'm just overexcited already. So I actually wanted to record this video a week ago, I think, but they suddenly decided that it was a good time to take down the scaffolding that was over here and also blare out the radio really loudly, so no recording for me that day. So hopefully I can remember everything, and to be honest, since then lots of things have changed, so it's probably for the best. Let's start with what I'm wearing. If you were here the last two episodes, I think you'll know what it is. I can't quite get all of me in one shot, but I'm hopefully going to put a video in with my very squeaky chair. So this is my Valkyria Cardigan by Anna, and I did hear on Woolen Twine, she pronounced it more like Sjösvärd, and my other friend also said, if you're not Swedish, maybe don't try. Maybe put the sjö noise. So let's go with that, Anna Sjösvärd. But you know who I mean by now. I've changed the way I pronounce her name at least 6 times, so who really cares? I'm English, we can't pronounce anything. So this is knitted in my beautiful Gotland Spinneri wool that I got when I visited Gotland. And again, I'm going to plug that video if you want to watch my trip to Gotland and to Öland. This is such beautiful wool. I desperately want them to ship internationally because I went physically to the store on the island to get it, and it is so good. I'm sure you could mix like a Plötulopi and maybe mohair, or I've seen someone else use einband. Is that how you pronounce it? Einband. I've seen someone use that and it gets a very similar look, but it's so nice. It was really nice to knit with, and it's very nice to wear. So I did several modifications to the pattern, and one was kind of unintentional, but let us go through. So I cast on for size 2, thinking that I was going to get, I've got to remember everything now. I did write notes, but since then I have lost them. I cast on size 2 thinking that I would get like a decent amount of ease. I can't remember how many you're supposed to have, but it was looking like it was going to be too much, which turns out it is not. I have much tighter gauge than the pattern. I didn't swatch for several reasons, one being I don't swatch, it's so boring. I would rather knit a jumper and rip it out than swatch. It's true. So I also figured it's size 2, even if it comes out smaller it really doesn't matter because it will fit. And it does, and I like the fit, so again, I don't have a problem with that. The other reason was I really didn't think I would have enough yarn, and I didn't know how it was going to rip out, so if I did a swatch, that precious amount of yarn I might need for the jumper, and I would have, so again, I'm glad I didn't swatch. And it turns out that even though my gauge was the same as Anna's in the Interruption, it is not the same when it comes to this one. So this was supposed to have 15 stitches in 4 inches, 10 centimeters, and I think mine has 18. Is it 18 or 20? I think it has 18. Ooh. Hopefully if I find the information I would put it on my screen, although I think it's on my Ravelry. So yeah, basically it came out a lot smaller, but I don't mind. Because I thought the jumper's very cropped, so it ends basically right under the breast, and I didn't want that short, but because I figured when I bought the yarn I would make size 1, it said if you want to make size 1 or 2, you need 3 skeins. So I figured if I bought size 1, if it can fit size 2, then I'll definitely have enough. Well, it turns out I should probably have bought 4 and then knitted size 3, but it's fine. It just made me a little bit nervous about how much yarn I would have. So I knitted the body until I ran out of the first ball. Then I knitted 1 sleeve, and I actually did size 1 sleeves instead of the size 2 sleeves to match the body, because 2 reasons. I didn't want it really like a lot of fabric, and I also wanted to take the extra yarn and put it into the body. So I finished 1 sleeve, and I think that did just about use 1 skein, and that's what made me nervous, was that I would then use the 3rd skein on the sleeves. So it was just a little bit left over, and I used that little bit to go back to the body, and I added more. So I should really check my Ravelry. Okay, so according to my Ravelry, I did get 18 stitches and 24 rows instead of 15 stitches, and I knitted the body. I added length by making the body 12 centimeters. So in general, I added 8 centimeters to the whole body. I added just a little bit more. I think I did like 5 or 6 extra rounds in the stockinette, and then I went to the rib section, and then I just knitted that until I figured I would have just enough yarn to do the rib button band, because I really was not sure how much yarn one needs for a button band. I picked up the button band, and what was weird, and I've now decided I'm just going to ignore everything like an adult. I used to knit when I started knitting, I didn't watch YouTubes and I didn't watch podcasts, so I just went with what I thought would be right. So when I started to knit, I just went with lace, because that's what I wanted to knit. And it's not until now when I watch YouTubes that people say, oh, this is advanced, you should knit like stockinette scarves before you tackle something like that. And I don't know, I think you should knit whatever you want to knit. And if you really want to do it, you'll figure out a way to do it. And I ended up picking up several button bands for different projects, and I just picked it up how I thought it should be, and it worked out fine. But since watching YouTubes and podcasts, people have these like very specific ways of doing it, like every certain amount of stitch, and I did that twice, and it was like pull the whole thing in, and it looked awful. And in the end I thought, how did I used to do this? I didn't do any kind of calculations, I just did what I thought would work, and I did that, and then it worked. So just, yeah, I'm learning now just to do what I want to do. Don't know if that made any sense, but I know what I mean. So because I added length, obviously the buttonhole placements are off, and I knew this, but I thought, and I don't know if it's because I saw a picture of somebody else with this, or I don't know, but I wanted to have this double button and then everything else separated evenly. But now that it's actually done, I don't think I like it. I'm not ripping out the button band just to fix it, but I also am very confused by this placement of this button, because when I wear it and look in a mirror, or when I lay it down flat and look at it, it's even. But when I record or take a picture, it's not even. So I don't even know if I undid this button. If I placed it again, I'd probably just put it in the same place. But in the excitement of making this cardigan, I forgot to buy buttons. So I just rummaged through my drawer here and found some cheap wooden buttons that I got from a craft store probably for gluing onto something, but I think they actually work quite nicely. The actual goal is to buy some ceramic buttons. I saw some really pretty ones on Etsy and they've got herbs on them and I think they would be beautiful. So they're in the UK and I'm not paying customs ever again, on purpose at least, from the UK. So these buttons will stay until I get them and then I can worry about what is going on with this. But for now I really don't care. Like, I'm not going to notice it. It's just in pictures I notice it. So yes, that's what I did. Are there any other changes? Buttons, buttonholes, gauge. No, I think that's it. I did follow the pattern for the sleeves and the stitch count and I thought, gosh, Anna has very skinny wrists. These just about go over my wrists. Of course I didn't know about my gauge problem until then, so that is why the cuffs were so tight, but it was ridiculously tight. So I've never bound off in a special way, like special stretchy way, or I've just done the usual cast off where you like knit one in pattern. So like knit one, purl one, lift it over, knit one, purl one, lift it over, that kind of thing. I can't explain it. But I'm sure you know exactly what I mean because it's just like the standard way of casting off. I've always just done that and I use the same needles. But in this case, I think, yeah, the needle size was 4 and 3.5 for the ribbing. So I went up to a 4.5 to cast off the cuff because originally I cast it off on 3.5. It was very tight, so I undid the cast off, which was really difficult in this wool when it was all washed and blocked. It took about half an hour to undo and like what, a minute, 30 seconds to then just re-knit and bind off the sleeves. But hey ho, it was worth it because now they're comfortable and not trying to kill my circulation. So yes, they're the perfect length for me. I really like a sleeve like this and I can wash up and I don't get my sleeves dunked into the washing up bowl, and I can also put on a coat because these aren't too big. That's what I was worried about. Although I love the big poofy sleeve, I was nervous that they wouldn't fit into a coat because my coats they're small because I'm small, and then you end up having all this fabric pushed up here and you look like a big muscle man when you're wearing a coat. So now this is fine. I think that is everything I want to say about it, other than thank you to you know who you are for buying the pattern for me. That was really, really sweet and I'm very, very, very grateful. My second finished object is one that many of you were very insistent that I buy yarn for. So I finished my mittens. Aren't they adorable? Ooh. They're so cute. These are the Tyto Mittens by Nina, a Crafter's Tale podcast. Last time I had just about run out of this green yarn and I'd finished one mitten, but I didn't have enough for the second mitten, and I was humming and hawing about whether I should order more yarn. Lots of you said, yes, just do it, just go do it, go now, buy it. A few of you said no. But in the end, I realised several things. Number one, I hate having projects just sitting around because I ran out of yarn, and I have a collection of projects just stuffed in bags because I didn't have enough yarn and I didn't want to buy new yarn, and so they just sit there and don't get finished, which is kind of silly. And I wanted to finish these, and yeah. Then I thought I'm not going to have enough of this brown yarn, which I did, but just about. I had 1 gram left over. I was very, very close. So I did actually buy more green and brown, but the main reason that I ended up buying the yarn was because I discovered that the chicken jumper that I had cast on, I was missing one of the colours. Don't quite know how. It was the little swatchy sleeve thing that I had done hadn't got as far as realizing that there was another colour I needed, and this fit perfectly. So now I have used the yarn for this, and I have extra colour for my chicken jumper, which I'm now going to have to cast it on a little later because it's Christmas knitting. I have to do Christmas knitting. So anyway, I've got the yarn for that, and I did buy the backup for the owl, which I will now use in something else. I'm thinking in a hat. And the other thing, the other reason was because a lovely a fellow podcaster and I want to say friend, but I don't actually know you, but I'll call you my friend. Lovely YouTube friend pointed out innocently, you're going to have the next, like, all of this yarn that you have, don't worry about having so much because it'll take you like 26 years, 30 years to use it, and even then you're not going to use it all. You're going to still add to your stash at the rate that I'm knitting. And I thought, I'm not buying yarn to finish this mitten because of my stash, and it's going to take me 26 years to knit my stash. I'm not waiting that long. So that was one of the other reasons I put into perspective a little more. And I did also want to touch on that. Obviously, the way I was expressing myself didn't quite come across as how I actually feel. I'm not stressed about my yarn stash. If you've been here a while, you know I'm keeping track of how much yarn I have and how much goes in and how much goes out, and trying to work through my stash. But I'm not like stressed about it. I'm not like, oh, I can't buy any yarn because I have to knit all my stash. It's not like that. I'm doing it because I had no idea how much I had. I was curious, and I also wanted to know how much I knit in a year, or in a month even. And it's this year I just so happened to start getting into fingering weight projects. So I was just a bit surprised by how little goes out. But I think I came across a bit like, oh no, I'll never do this. But I'm really not that stressed about it. I'm happy with the stash I have. I have everything basically has a project in mind for it, almost. And I just don't want to buy so much that I'll never get around to knitting everything. So that's why I'm trying not to buy too much. But I'm not like banning myself from ever buying yarn. Yeah, I don't think I've expressed myself too well, because a few people have like tried to make me feel better, which of course is very nice, but I feel a bit guilty now because I seem like I'm more stressed than I am about it. I'm having a whale of a time with my knitting and my yarn and everything, so it's okay. Thank you. Thank you for supporting me. I'm perfectly content. And on that subject, I have now decided to add, for like morale boost, add to my learnings, instead of just calculating in grams, because a couple of you have mentioned this, and I like this idea. Personally, my brain works better knowing I bought 100 grams skein and then I knit out 100 grams. Like that, I can understand that. But it is very satisfying when you think, I made this jumper, and then you discover that it's, say, 800 meters of yarn, and you're like, wow, I knitted nearly a kilometer of wool. That's impressive. So I'm also going to start adding the meterages to my knitting, which I think I have written down. I do. And I've dropped it on the floor. I went through on a rainy evening and calculated how many meters I have knit out of my stash, based off of the grams and everything that I have recorded for what I have knit out this year. And when I added everything together, is that everything? Yeah, lots of fun calculations. This year I have knitted out roughly 7.2 kilometers of yarn, which I think is quite fun. That's exciting. When I go for my evening walks, I can think every step that I take, and by the time I get to my home, I knitted that much. I like that. I totally understand why some of you like to work in meterages. Meterages? I can't say it. Anyway, I'm going to do both because it's fun and I just really enjoy seeing it go in and go out. So I have added that to my list. And in October, I haven't even written it down on this one. I will update you in a couple of months what's happened between October and December probably. But yeah, that's my new thing to add. So it's 7.2 kilometers of yarn I have knitted this year. And wow, that was a really huge tangent away from what I was trying to talk about. So I finished my mittens with the wool that I bought. And now they're finished and they're so perfectly adorable and I love them very much. And the face and everything is duplicate stitched on, which I actually found much more enjoyable this time. Enjoyable is not quite the right word. I don't enjoy duplicate stitch, but I made some gingerbread man socks in the summer, I think. I started them in my Vlogmas last year and I never finished his friend, and I finished them this year. And I just got so lost with this duplicate stitch that it put me off doing it. So the second sock I did flat flat colourwork, which now they look completely different. One is a very skinny, tight gingerbread man and one is a very fat gingerbread man. So I will show you those probably in November, December when I wear them. Yeah, that didn't really work, so it traumatized me a little bit with duplicate stitch. But this was, for some reason, it just worked a lot better this time. What else? I did 2.25mm needles, and this is the Spindrift yarn, and I will link it in my Ravelry, and yeah, you can see it there. I might just keep them on because they're cozy and cute. On to works in progress. I am... which one? Decision paralysis. You'd think that after the period of time that's gone by I would have made several things, but no. I have bits of my jumper in my mouth. I was on a mission, if you recall from last time, to fix my fox jumper. I made the Into the Woods, Into the Wild, oh gosh, Into the Wild jumper last year for my mum, and because it went wrong because of gauge, it ended up being mine, and I got just very lazy and because I was annoyed, and I made them short sleeves. And then discovered not only are the sleeves just awful, they were just too big, too wide, and they stuck out, and then I just didn't like them basically. It's also, instead of going down in the body, like making it shaped or something, I just knit straight and it just looks weird. I decided to rip out the I-cord that I had done around the arms and re-knit the sleeves, which is not actually that bad. It's just, it takes a lot longer than I remember, and now I'm understanding why I cut off the sleeves so fast. Single strand Plötulopi and me equals like sport weight or fingering weight tension. So doing two huge sleeves takes a lot longer than I realised. I have finished one. I ripped out the I-cord, unsure if I would actually be able to do it because I didn't know how single strand Plötulopi would handle being ripped out. First sleeve was fine. So I finished it and I based it off of size 2 of the Valkyria cardigan sleeve. So that is where I picked up, somewhere around here, and knitted down here. And as you can see, You're teeny, teeny, tiny. And I really hope that fits. And I've dropped, or I've ripped some of the single strand Plötulopi here, so I have to go fix that. But yesterday I ripped out the second sleeve and the I-cord did not want to come undone with ease, and I just had to pull it out into tiny little pieces. And I have now picked up for the second sleeve and one single strand. It's nice. I really like knitting with Plötulopi, so I'm happily chugging along on that one. But it's gonna look so good. The only thing I'm a bit sad about is I really don't think I can rip back the body, because it did not like getting ripped back yesterday, and if I rip back the body and have to just pull apart every 5 centimeters, it's going to be such a waste of yarn, and I don't think it's worth it. So I'm going to see when this sleeve is done how I like it. If I really, really don't, I could try adding a rib section, but then it might look a bit more like a cupcake. like it would cinch it in, but there'd be all this fabric spilling over, and I don't really know if that would be a nice look. So I'm gonna worry about that later, because I might not have to worry about it. It might be fine. And I do have another one planned, so at least this will be wearable, because single strand Plötulopi is still Plötulopi, which makes it still very warm, and nobody wears a Plötulopi short-sleeved t-shirt because you're gonna be cold or you're gonna be too hot. So I'm very, very excited to have that one finished, hopefully in the next week or two. It really doesn't take that long, it's just I have so many thoughts and ideas. I'm so excited about so many projects, to the point where I've knitted maybe twice this week. Like, I'm so excited and planning and organising things that I'm not actually knitting the things. I decided to organise my vintage knitting patterns, and it's like this really weird satisfaction of taking pictures and digitalising them, making them PDFs, and then sorting them. My problem is that I have them on my computer, I have them on my phone, I have them on my tablet, and they're a mess and they're everywhere. And yeah, I am like fake organised. They're organised individually on my computer they're in one file, my phone they're in another, my tablet, but none of them are synced. Like, no, it's a bit of a disaster, but it's really fun and completely addictive to just keep adding new projects to your list and planning the yarns and which colours, and I need more tea. So the only other half finished object, which I have not woven in the ends or anything yet because I just cast them off, are my husband's socks. These are the West Yorkshire Spinner Gingerbread Man socks, or gingerbread colour socks. They're so happy. I cast these on the ferry back from Sweden, and then I abandoned them and tried to pick them up again. Did something a bit funky on the inside of this, which I have to fix. And then 2 days ago I finished the foot. They are not quite right for his feet. I seem to have changed the way I do my heels, and I don't know what I do, but they fit me really well, but that is very small. And on his like massive man foot, it doesn't quite sit the same, but I don't know what I did differently than any of the other ones. I made him 2 pairs of socks when I first started knitting, and they have very different heels. And I don't understand what I did, because I didn't think I had changed my heel method. So they're a bit smaller on him, and he has really fat big toe. So although this is the correct length. Once his big toe is in this, it does stretch out the fabric so you can see skin, which makes me worry that there will be holes developed. But he hasn't got holes in the other pairs I made him, so it might be alright. I think I really should get more experimental with the toes. I think he would like ones that are left and right socks, where you do decreases just on one side, so you have a left foot and a right foot. That would probably fit for him. It's just, I don't love knitting socks. I love the idea of knitting socks. It's one of the reasons I start to knit. It's one of the reasons I learned to knit, and I love having the socks, and I love knowing I made the socks and looking at the socks, but I just get a little bit bored because I used to really enjoy knitting socks when I did the small circular needles, but that was easy when I was right hand knitting, like English style knitting, but because of hand pain I swapped to my left and I can't hold the needles in the same way, and so I have to do magic loop, which I don't have a massive problem with. It's just, it's not as fun. Like, you constantly have to move the needle, turn the project, go along, and once you're into the flow of things, you've come to the end and you have to turn it and do the same, and it's not as exciting. But it is better than DPNs because they are horrible, and I hated knitting socks on DPNs. But maybe one day I'll be able to use small circulars again, because then you just whizzed around and it was really fun. So I just have to cast on the second one and actually finish them. I was thinking of giving them to him for the first Advent so he could wear Christmassy socks throughout December, so I should probably find out when the first of Advent is. Now, I know I had a huge list of autumn plans, but I did forget one very important plan on that list, and since then I've just been overwhelmed with inspiration. So, first of all, when I got the yarn, I realised I could get other yarn in order to make a project that I had planned to make last year. I'm going to take these off because I'm getting quite warm now. Last year, Charlotte from Stone Knits released the Christmas pudding mittens. If you've been here, I probably from the beginning you'll know I made a lovely ugly Christmas jumper with the Christmas pudding pattern, and I also made the socks, which they were my second colourwork socks, and they fit so well because I was using those small circulars and my tension was really good. And ever since then it's been a lot more difficult to get colourwork socks to fit with magic loop. So they look beautiful and I love that pattern. And so in December Charlotte released the Christmas pudding mitts, so naturally I have to cast them on, but I didn't have the right wool. I didn't want sock yarn for my hands because it's really not that warm. Not in my opinion anyway. I wanted actual woolly wool that wasn't superwash, but I didn't have any brown. So I ordered some. It smells so good. The other ones that came in the order don't smell as good as this one. But this is the Similar Mélange BC Gone. It's the same one I used in my Festive Yoke pullover. I used the white one, and it's so springy and like, it's so bouncy and really nice to knit with. So I thought that is going in my cart. So I'm going to cast on the mittens with this one and use the leftover white that I have. But this is where I've started to like mayhem has occurred. So I need some advice. Where are you? I put it somewhere. It's on the floor. Anyway, in May, we're going a bit all over the show right now. In May, my mum cast on the ribbing for a vintage jumper for me because I wanted to use up some of the yarn that I had. I was gifted this yarn via her from some of her friends. when I started to knit, and I've used them in various things. My blue chevron jumper, I used this yarn, but I had some left over and I thought I could make the Victory jumper and use this blue, navy blue yarn for it. But I then discovered that I didn't have any other of the wools that would be suitable. I didn't have red, I didn't have white. I didn't really want to buy more of that yarn because I didn't want to actually buy nylon, superwash, alpaca, was it Drops Nord, I think? Yes, Drops Nord. I didn't want to buy more of it basically and have a whole jumper in superwash, nylon, wool, alpaca. And so I just left this abandoned project. Then when I bought this, I saw the other colours and I thought, why have I abandoned this jumper for so long? I'll get the additional. So I got red. It's this yarn. I got red and I already have white, so I could finish the jumper. And then when I went to wind this up, I thought, what am I doing? This is wool. This has the same meterage, but almost. It's 5 meters off. It's wool, it's non-superwash. I don't think they're going to work at all together. Alpaca has very different properties. Nylon in alpaca makes it have different properties, and it's superwash and this is not. So I don't think that I can actually use this in that project after all. So now I'm back to square one with that. I think I'm going to leave the blue cast on rib section. Again, I'm going to leave it aside because I think I've got a different pattern in mind, because I discovered some more of the Drops Nord that I had again from the same gift, and I'm going to make a different pattern with that. But it then does leave me with all this and the desire for that jumper, so I still have to buy the blue for the rest of the jumper. So although I did buy this as a way to finish a jumper, I now have to actually buy more in order to make the jumper from scratch. But hey ho, it does mean I can use this in my mittens. I'm not sure if anything I'm saying is making sense because I am waffling. I've got so many things on my mind. This is basically how my week has been. I don't know if I'm just getting overheated now with the excitement. I just have so many ideas and so many thoughts that I don't get anywhere. But I think I can. My mum is visiting in November and I'm going to get some more of the blue and then I can cast on the Victory jumper and it'll all be in the same wool. Have any of you experienced mixing non-superwash wool with superwash in a garment? Does it work? I'm not convinced it's going to work. Okay, so there are 3 more projects to talk about, and yeah, I'm in a decision crisis. So not on my autumn's plan list, but is now on my autumn's plan list, is to use these yarns to make some Swedish gloves. I'll see if I can put the picture in, but if I don't, then I will show you when I'm making them. I'm hopefully going to cast these on very soon. They're all caked up and excited and raring to go. And the weather is cold now, so although I love my mitts, I have no circulation. And as soon as it's like 11 degrees, I can't feel my fingertips. So I kind of need to make gloves that actually cover my fingers. So enter the wool and the pattern, and they will be combined and I will have some glorious mittens. So no, they were not on the list, but they're on the list now. Then I feel a little bit guilty for mentioning this pattern because I can't share it with you and I don't think you can get access to it. I got it from a group, but the group is closed and they're not accepting any new members, and you're not allowed to share patterns outside of the group. So I'm afraid I can't share it with you, the pattern, but hopefully you'll still enjoy going along for the ride. I have this beautiful, beautiful wool from Centrum, which I have just discovered. I don't think all of their wools are, to my knowledge, but I just discovered this is actually Gotland wool. I bought this on my trip, not realising that it was Gotland wool, and I'm very, very excited. And it's such a good colour. Oh, This is the leftover yarn that I was mentioning earlier, the Semilla Mélange from my festive yoke pullover. I want to combine these two together and make a Christmas jumper, a vintage Christmas jumper. I did have ideas of waiting until I had figured out how to do things with steeks in the armpits so I wouldn't have to knit it flat, but I've just decided to give it a whirl. I'm going to give it a go. Only thing, I'm not 100% certain if I'll have enough, because obviously the pattern is vintage and this one has absolutely no gauge, no wool. Like, you can't actually find out what the meterage or grams or any of this is of the wool. It just says use this wool, and I have no idea. It doesn't give you any information. So I'm gonna just guesstimate as per usual. I'm going to start with a sleeve and make it as my swatch, and I'm gonna adjust the pattern anyway so that I can get I don't want to be bored basically of knitting an entire jumper in stockinette in one colour, because that would be really boring for me, especially right now when I want to knit like all the things. And it's basically, although this is sport weight, it is actually a light fingering weight jumper, so I have to do some maths to figure it out and make sure it's going to fit. But I'm going to add some colour work to the cuffs, then knit up. I'll knit them in the round, then I'll start knitting flat because it's obviously going to be seamed in. Then the whole body is going to be knit in plain stockinette up until the armpit, and then you get this beautiful snowflake chart, which I will be knitting flat. Colour work, wish me luck, and hopefully I have enough yarn. I wanted it finished in time for Christmas, but I know that I have so many things planned, and I get the feeling that I'm either going to pick up this project because I can watch Christmas movies and I can watch YouTubes and not have to concentrate too much, or I'm going to find stockinette incredibly boring with no colour work, no texture, no change, and I'll leave it aside and pick it up later. Who knows what will happen, but hopefully this is going to be ready in time for Christmas. And as a treat for my mother, I'm going to let her do the ribbing. The nice 3 inches of ribbing, I'm gonna let her do that. If you've been here a while, you'll know my mum has done the ribbing on a couple of my jumpers. She has no problem with it. I don't really have a problem with it. It's just I want to get straight onto the fun part, and she has no problem at all with it, and I want to do the fun part. So yeah, what am I doing? And I've had a spontaneous thought which could completely derail that project, but I hope not. Hopefully they can go side by side. I really do have to sit down and do a lot of maths in the next couple of days, but at the moment I'm just excited. I feel like I've said that 1,000 times, if you've been here a while, if you've been here a while. I will say if you've been here from 2020, I don't know, have I been podcasting that long? I don't think so. Basically, this was on my autumn to make list, and I think this is the 3rd Christmas I've tried to work on it, and I'm not enjoying it at all. And I'm thinking I could come back to it later, like way later, and just get it off of my conscience now. Just either frog it or leave it aside and just use the yarn for something else, because I don't think I'm going to continue on these mittens. I started these, December, I'm gonna say December 2020, I think. They were a mystery knit along, but I was new to colourwork, so my colourwork it's not bad, but it's different to how I do colourwork now, and it's very loose. This is a mitten, but it's just it's going to let all the cold air in, and I don't really like that shape as a mitten. I want it ribbed or tighter. There. So don't love that. I didn't love doing this. I don't know if it's a Latvian braid or Estonian braid, but I did it. But yesterday, when I decided I'm going to try and do this, I'm going to try and pick it up again, I realised that I had dropped a stitch somewhere on this braid, and I've somehow managed to make the beginning of the round the complete centre of the mitten. So not only have I dropped, or maybe it's just loose, I have no idea what's going on, not only is that a problem, that is right in the middle, and it just looks really ugly, and I'm not enjoying it at all. And I have no reason to just keep forcing myself to try and do it when I don't have any pleasure from it. So, although I like the finished pattern, so long as I'm gifted with good health and hands, I can knit that pattern at any time in the future. I do not need to do it now. So I'm going to reuse the yarn, and I'm thinking, Christmas. These are the colours that yum. These are the colours that I have, and I'm thinking another vintage jumper. It's called Bunny Ears. It's a very simple, apparently, very simple pattern repeat, but it looks like little bunny ears. And I could make it kind of festive I'll have to buy a couple more of these, maybe one or two more of these. But basically this would be the background colour, and then I'd have a row of green ears, that's my phone, row of green ears, some white, row of red ears, some white, maybe add the grey, not 100% sure. I don't know who's just trying to ring me, that was strange. Yeah, I'm not sure how it would look. If it's too Christmassy, then I might not be able to wear it any other time. But equally, I have jumpers that are very Christmassy, which I wear throughout the whole of November, December, and even into January, so who really cares? What do you think? Do I attempt to make the bunny ears jumper with this? The gauge for that is mental. The gauge for that is 36 stitches in 10 centimeters. So don't know that I'll be doing that. I will make a sleeve as my swatch again, and basically just see what the stitch count is and use that to calculate the rest of the body. Because that's how I roll. I really don't do swatches. As I've said 100 bazillion thousand times, my swatches never give me the same result that they do when I'm knitting. So, and yes, I do knit it flat if I knit flat, in the round if I knit in the round. It's just they never give me the same stitch count ever. So even when I have done a swatch, the jumper didn't turn out the right size. So I'd rather just knit the sleeve. If the sleeve doesn't work, just like the chicken jumper, I'll just rip it out, it's fine. But at least I'm doing it in the same way that I'm going to do the finished garment. So that is basically all the plans. Are you still with me? Are you still aware? I'm already lost, so lots of plans. I'm surrounded by half-finished projects, wool, a wool winder, wool all over the floor. It's delightful. I have no idea how long I've been talking for, but going by my throat, I would say quite a while. So I'm going to wrap this up. Don't think I missed anything. I'm probably gonna realise I missed it after I have finished editing, but I think I covered everything. They are my new plans, and let's see how I get on. And I'm not sure when I'll record next because I don't know what will be worth showing you at that point, but I will see you then, hopefully with a finished box jumper and with some started projects maybe. My mum is visiting in a couple of weeks and it's my wedding anniversary. It's not 7 years yet though, so I have to wait. I just discovered that if you are married for 7 years you get wool, so hell yes. Oh, speaking of marriage, aka husband, I have a new jumper plan for him. But maybe I'll talk about that later because I haven't got the wool yet. I need to do a swatch, see if it works. But there may be an additional jumper to add to the list. Don't know if I will manage to get that in time for Christmas, but you know, as I said, there's a lot of creativity and juice and excitement going on, so I need to calm down. I'm going to continue winding some wool now. I'm going to cast one of these projects on, and I will see you next time. Thank you very much for watching. Bye bye.